All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. How's it going, man? How are you? I mean, usually I have people introduce themselves in their own words. Who are you and what do you do?
Sure. I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Hmm.
Uh, my name's Carlos, Carlos Condit. I am professionally, I'm a mixed martial arts fighter. I've been doing that for a long time.
Hmm.
I'm from Albuquerque. I grew up here.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Cool, man. I mean, but that's not the only thing you do, right? You're like an onion. You have tons of layers. You're obviously your fighting career is a big part of who you are, your public persona, but like you said, you're from Albuquerque, man.
Mhm.
Born and raised, I'm assuming, right? Born here.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yep.
man.
Born and
Where'd you go to high
raised.
school?
I went to Cibola, and then
Cibola.
I went to Independence High School because I was a troubled kid.
I was gonna say that's like that private charter school, right?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Where all the
Very
cool kids go. Nice,
uh-huh.
man.
Very exclusive.
I know. I'm sure it's exclusive. So, I mean, were you what growing up in Albuquerque? What was that like for you? I mean, what part of town did you grow up in? On the west side?
Yeah, I grew up on the west side. I grew up way out, like Paradise Hills, almost to Rio
Yeah,
Rancho.
yeah,
It was, I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to because I haven't lived anybody
yeah,
else's life.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That makes sense.
but I, it was, like we we had a lot of fun. I think.
Do you have siblings? I mean, do you have siblings? Is it just you?
Yeah. No, I have a sibling. I have a younger
Okay,
brother.
okay,
My brother Andre is he's about 3 years younger than
okay, okay. And that's quite a name, Andre.
me. Uh huh.
So did you? What was it? I mean, what was it like growing up with a little brother and being the big brother? Because I'm a big brother too,
Uh huh.
and I always took on a lot of the heat and did a lot of the mistakes firsthand. And I
Yeah.
have a young sister though, so but what was it like for you, kind of growing up with a younger brother? Did you guys fight?
Yeah, we did quite a bit. We're very different, Andre
Or
and
you?
I.
Okay.
Yeah, just we're very very different people, different interests,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
uh, so yeah, there was a lot of butting heads, a lot of interesting family dynamics,
Okay.
and yeah. So, but he's a very interesting and accomplished young man himself.
Okay. Okay. So you speak well of him. That's good. That's good. Not a lot of people can say that and get along with your younger siblings. I do personally. So
Uh,
I mean, I think that's a good thing. So all of that said, I mean, you do a ton of stuff. How much of your growing up kind of influenced who you became today professionally? I mean, was it at an early age? And we won't get into like the details of your actual kind of professional career, but um, what kind of drove you there? I mean, what was it growing up besides, I mean, actually fighting? Were you fighting in the streets?
um, I I fought more for fun than actually like
Okay,
out of anger. Like so, me and my
sure.
friends we liked to fight, and to
Hmm.
varying degrees, right? That was
Sure.
lots of roughhousing, lots of play
Mm,
fighting,
hmm.
all the
Hmm.
way to actually like throwing down. But
Going
I had
bodies.
I yeah I had an interest in martial arts from a really young age.
Okay.
I think the
Okay.
second movie I ever thought saw in theater was Ninja Turtles, the first one,
Nice. Okay.
and I loved that movie. I didn't want to be a Ninja Turtle. I wanted to be the Foot Clan because they got to hang out
No
and
way,
smoke
man. You wanted to be the
cigarettes.
bad
And
guy?
well, I wanted to hang out in their little wild underground clubhouse
Okay.
and then spar all the time, and that seemed awesome to me.
Just lighting
So,
up
but anyway,
heaters and fighting in the ditch. I mean,
yeah,
did you end up being able to replicate that a little bit? I mean, it got you all the way to Independence High, right?
mm, yeah, I didn't fight a whole lot in school,
Okay.
here and there. I mean, I got along
Yeah.
with people for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, mainly playing. Me and my best friend growing up, we put the boxing gloves on every single day after school. That's like we went home and boxed each other,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we didn't know what the hell we were doing,
Mm.
but we got reps in. Uh, yeah,
I
so
mean, that's one
that's
way to say it, man.
uh-huh.
I mean, it's very interesting because I see a lot of people have these external kind of, whether it's artists, politicians, there's a driving kind of thing. There's something that like this is just who you are, right? Whether it's like being in the spotlight, being driven, the challenge of the whole thing. I mean, what at what age? You said you started very early on, and I mean, you're good at what you do. Was there a
Mhm.
point where it just clicked, or was it just always just grinding it out for you?
So I was in sports almost year round since I
Okay,
was about 5 years old.
sure.
And the first couple sports that I played, I wasn't very good at.
Okay.
I played soccer and I was on swim team.
Hmm.
And but yeah, I wasn't particularly good at either of those. I think I was
Okay.
slow and, it's kind
Hmm.
of took a while to develop. But
Hmm.
when I started wrestling, that it really clicked. Like that
Bless
was
you. Okay.
something that I loved.
Yeah.
But that being said, I still wasn't very good at that. It took me a long time to
Hmm.
actually get good.
Okay. Is it? I mean, it's so it sounds like you're more the kind of the grind it out, and you started really kind of investing yourself in it and developing yourself, which I think
Yeah.
is, I mean, a testament to who I've seen over the years. Since I've gotten to know you, and even I think prior to that, just seeing your kind of development and your resiliency, man. Like I feel like you do have this resiliency about you. Like you just pick
Mhm.
yourself up, and I mean, again, I've only seen one side of you, or a couple, I guess, what I see on, in the media and what I've seen one on one. But
Mhm.
I think you're one of the most humble people I've ever met. I mean, you seem so down to earth and nice, man. And you are. I mean, you don't just seem that way. And so, how much of that was that, like that work that you put in growing up, right? In driving yourself to kind of do all this stuff. How much of
Mhm.
that impacted your humility?
I hadn't really thought about it, but I
Yeah.
was humbled quite a bit, right? Life will humble you, and being
Yeah. Yeah.
an extremely competitive person who's not
Hmm.
particularly athletic will humble you.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen both sides. I've lost so much more than I've won, but
Hmm. Hmm.
um, yeah, it's that's been definitely
Hmm.
part of my journey.
And I think I mean, it's great. It's always great because I think your last fight I saw you won, right?
Mhm.
And that was I felt for one proud of you, right? Being from Albuquerque, and then two, just kind of like, I think that that was a well deserved. I mean, not just deserved, but you put in the work, right, to kind of to win that. So it's so interesting to see to hear that you're you say that you've lost more than you won, and you're still at it, right? But also when I see you in comparison to some other fighters in general, it just personality wise, or maybe the persona they're projecting, because I don't know them personally.
Mhm.
um they do kind of I feel like there's this sense of just like ego that you don't have, right? Not to say that you don't have it, because everyone does,
Mhm.
but is there a kind of a level of mental toughness that you have that you feel you've developed over time, where are you now between how are you now versus how you were at the beginning of your career, I guess?
Well, quite a bit has changed since the
Sure.
beginning of my career.
Yeah.
My lifestyle, when I was first starting out, man,
Hmm.
I was like a feral kid, pretty much. I really
Okay.
was,
Yeah,
and
just a young
I've
guy.
grown up. I've
Hmm.
grown up in the sport, and like I've luckily I've learned a lot of lessons through what I've done. A
Hmm.
lot of personal development through my profession.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been a fortunate side effect,
Yeah.
of being involved in this. Uh, yeah, I think that I am. Yeah, I have a certain amount of mental toughness.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm grateful to have been able to do what I love for a living. Like
Yeah.
I know that I am beyond fortunate to
Hmm.
have taken the path that I have, and the people that have supported me
Yeah.
and been behind me, and like
Oh,
all of it. It's not just me. Like, and I'm
yeah.
super grateful. And basically, I try to live that way, and I train that way, and I try to, um, you know, make sure that I'm worthy of having had this opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And again, I think that all of that is just this very zen humility, right? Not to overuse that word. And I think that's something that, as in general, like in society, I feel like that's something that's that's lacking a lot. Um, there's people are just polar opposites and and unable to kind of like meet in the middle. And it takes a lot of practice, right? Like that mental, spiritual kind of practice to come back to that. Do you have some sort of spirituality that kind of maybe helps you ground yourself in any way? Um, especially, the especially since you're kind of in such a violent arena a lot of the time.
Hmm. Um, yeah, and that I do. I definitely have
Hmm.
I have a spiritual practice.
Hmm.
Practice being the operative word, because
Yeah.
it's a developing thing, and
Hmm.
I take a couple steps forward and a couple steps back, and
Yeah.
it's a constantly evolving thing.
Yeah.
Um, I the violence part of what I do, I don't think is um, I don't think it's opposite to spirituality. I think
Okay.
it's who I am, and I think
Mm.
that
Hmm.
I've integrated that into my life in a healthy way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out, right? Um, but like aggression and
Hmm.
intensity and violence, sure. I think that's part of everybody, and
Yeah.
that's in us, and and it's kind of how can we incorporate that, right?
Yeah.
And for me, maybe that knob was dialed up really high
Hmm.
just as who I am, but I was able to find an outlet that was positive. And
Yeah.
with that, I get that out, and so in the rest of my life, for the most part, I'm pretty calm, and
Hmm.
not everything. Like I still have my struggles with
Hmm.
you know uh, with anger and all that stuff like anybody else. But
Yeah. 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 With life.
definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that makes sense. You're still human, right? You're not a superhero. And I mean, I'm sure that there's this kind of it must be interesting having kind of this visibility, because I mean, to an extent, your name is your brand, right? And you have this visibility, and people know who you are, and you're recognizable, and all this stuff. So it I think you get a lot of opportunities, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, to actually practice all of this, right? Centering yourself and doing more so than some other people maybe sometimes. But either way, I think, I'm curious as to how you kind of integrate that into your dynamic with your children, right? Because I know you're a family man, and that's
Mhm,
a very important part of who you are as well.
mhm.
How do you kind of mitigate that? I mean, managing or balancing this kind of people recognition and this visibility out in the world and still being dad. I mean, how do your kids see you? Do they see you as like dorky dad still?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
it's funny. I was talking to a good friend of mine, my coach last night, who's
Hmm.
like, he's a very interesting guy,
Hmm.
does a bunch of different cool stuff. I see him and I'm like, he's like, he's a candidate for like the most interesting man in the world.
Oh
And
yeah.
his kids just laugh at him like,
Hmm.
whatever. And my kids
Yeah.
too. Like
Yeah.
they I don't know, like I think just your kids see you as dad.
Hmm.
As far as like integrating it, I mean, I just it's they've grown up with it again, so they don't
Yeah.
know any other
Makes
way really.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Um, and and it's not crazy. Like I'm not the Beatles. I don't have like crowds of people, crying and fainting over me. People want to take pictures here and there. Um,
Right. Right.
and that's easy. Most of the time, no big, no problem.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, have you had any kind of crazies out there come your
Yeah,
way?
I mean, a lot of here and there, people make a scene.
Oh.
Um, but
Hmm.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you're like, I get it. I'm kind of a big deal, right? No, I
Like
mean, yeah.
actually might more like the opposite. I'm like,
Oh.
really, dude, like we can
Hmm.
say what's up and talk and
Yeah.
if you want a picture, you want me to sign, it's
Yeah.
cool, man. You want to talk fighting, cool, no problem. Like, but
Yeah.
like if it's like a I don't like being the center of attention. If it, that may sound weird,
Yeah.
but I don't. And it comes up like that. But for the most part, I love meeting fans, and it's
Hmm.
really cool that people appreciate what I do.
Hmm.
And I think that especially young fighters like that, that's a big thing that I love, that young fighters are inspired by what I've done, and like
Yeah.
honestly, that makes it all worth it.
I mean, I can imagine you're inspiring a whole new generation of kids from Albuquerque, even, or New Mexico, to aspire to do this, and take this career path potentially if they're willing to put the work in. I mean, what besides just being, trying to be a positive role model? What kind of stuff do you do? Do you work in the community? Do you try to get out there? A big part of like success is what I found in whatever arena people work in, is that they almost sometimes feel this responsibility to give back, right? Because they know what it's like to not have that support. Do you feel sort of responsibility in that sense as well? And how do you do it if you do? And if not, that's cool too.
No, I do, and that it kind of
Hmm.
ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in the past, I've been involved with uh, things like Cuidando los Niños, which is a
Mm.
organization for kids and homeless people.
Hmm.
Um, I've done different things. I'm a person. I'm in recovery. I'm
Hmm.
sober,
Hmm.
and so spreading a message of recovery to people
Yeah.
who are struggling with addiction is
Yeah.
part of that for me.
Hmm.
Um, and and I have to balance that with being able to be present, be of service to the people that I have a commitment to, like my kids and my
Yeah.
business partners. So it ebbs and flows. Right now, it's the for the most part, it's just carrying a message of recovery in the sobriety community.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big community, right? And I think it's important to get out there and help those, because I mean, the pandemic's been kind of crazy, and we can kind of become full circle done to kind of current events, because I've seen a couple of people that I knew from recovery, right, that are gone now. Either it's relapse or depression or something like that. I mean, it's a really difficult time and dark time out there for people right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. It's good to hear that you're making an effort, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's and it's important for people to know. I mean, people that are listening to this, that like, if you need help, like, there is help. You don't have to do this alone either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how much of your life would you say has been impacted by what you've learned in recovery?
Uh, I couldn't quantify that, man.
Really?
That's
Okay.
yeah. It's almost like a whole second part. Like I've grown up since I got sober.
Hmm.
I grew up like I
Hmm.
was I was a kid. I
Yeah.
see it as two different parts of my life. Like I was a kid. I was a child, even though I got sober when I was 27.
Yeah.
But I had very little life skills, and I
Hmm.
had zero coping mechanisms other than
Yeah.
partying. And
Yeah. I mean, same, man.
since it's been a process to develop those and to grow up,
Hmm.
and that's a it's an ongoing process.
Yeah,
It's
man.
not always perfect. But I owe a ton to the people who've sat down with me and shared their experience.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important that, I think a big part of any the recovery and programs and all of this stuff is that it provides community, but it also provides you kind of like a life a life map, right? And a life program on how to be just live life. I
Sure.
mean, so much of it doesn't just apply to to your vice. It applies to everything, right? Everything from being like, why do I feel this way? Did I mess up? Did I hurt anybody? Do I need to apologize? Do I need to make it better? I mean, those are just basic human decency things, but when I put it in that context, I realize and I remember or remind myself that not everyone had the opportunity or was taught those things growing up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is kind of crazy to me to think that. And it bums me out a little bit, but I'm glad that it exists because it anybody can pick it up if they really want to and learn how to live a better life, like you said, one day at a time. And it completely changes who you are as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
right? My girlfriend till this day, I mean, actually today, she says to her, she says to me, I'm not good with my feelings. But you just seem to be so good, like at like asking yourself like why you're feeling something and kind of like like figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
And and I tell her, I was like, it's just practice. Again, going back to that word that you said, practice, right? Over and making mistakes and checking yourself and asking yourself why, and then making an amends and apologizing and being better one day after another, right? Just doing the next right thing. After a while, it just sticks and it becomes who you are, you
Yeah.
know? And it's so
Sure.
interesting. I've seen people who've grown up with with their parents in recovery, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting watching them because their entire personality is kind of to an extent like a 12-step program. It's very interesting to see that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's interesting to see that because it's just a no-brainer for them because they grew up in it, but like they never abused drugs, they never did anything. It's just who they are now. And I think it's such a, like, honestly, for the lack of a better word, a beautiful thing to be able to
Sure.
just kind of grow up that way. I think that's awesome, man. I
Sure.
mean,
Sure.
I'm passing that down to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
and how to manage your emotions and how to cope better and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure you're doing it with your sons too, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just went off on a tangent there. But with that said, I mean, all of this kind of led you to a point where you're able to do a lot of really cool stuff, not just with other people, but in other industries, right? Because you have your hand in a couple of other projects.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I've had a coffee company with a couple of partners since
sure.
I think 2017. So
Okay.
we're going on however many years that is.
What's the
Four or
name?
5 years. 100 Hands Coffee.
Okay. Okay.
100 Hands Coffee, and we just opened our first brick and mortar like a week before the pandemic shut down in March. So
Jeez.
that was
Okay.
badly timed.
I mean, you couldn't have
Um,
predicted it, right?
Yep, nobody could. I mean, this thing kind of blindsided everybody. I think
Hmm.
the few experts that saw this coming, but the rest of us had our fingers in our ears, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, we've been around. Where we work with Albuquerque roasters.
Mm.
We did like a B2B model where we were doing distribution, working with bars, restaurants, tap rooms,
Mm.
offices, gyms, that sort of thing, providing
Hmm.
them with cold brew on tap. And
Oh,
since
nice.
then, we've expanded to a retail model where we're doing our own thing and serving our own coffee.
And what was the idea behind, I mean, this business model? Was it, what makes you stand out, I guess, apart from other, I mean, coffee shops? What makes you guys different?
Like we specialized in like a nitro cold brew, which
Okay.
is
Okay.
actually pretty big in other places.
Hmm.
Not, Albuquerque's typically, 5 years behind trends. Um, and that's giving us some credit. So,
Sure.
uh, we, a lot of it was our product, but also our delivery method,
Hmm.
our model of working directly with businesses, doing wholesale. That was a little
Yeah.
bit different. And then over at the shop right now, we have a lot of different things. I think we have an innovative menu, got a lot of really, really good stuff. We make everything in-house, syrups,
Oh, nice.
everything's made from scratch.
Okay.
We have a I think a pretty creative menu that's amazing.
Have you, I mean, have you been out there? Do you consider yourself an amateur barista at this point? Do you know how to do it?
Yeah, I could make a decent latte. Um,
All right, all right. I'm gonna
I
hold you to
mean,
that, man.
yeah, yeah, come through. I'm maybe a intermediate
Okay, okay,
barista.
all right,
Yeah, I can make a few drinks, and
okay,
I enjoy that, man. Like I really like to cook. That's
okay,
like one of my main hobbies, or that's what I spend a ton of time doing. If I'm not, training or coffee stuff,
yeah,
I'm cooking. And
okay,
so the barista thing is, it's pretty. There's a lot of overlap with that, right? Because
yeah.
you're blending flavors,
Mm-hmm,
processes,
mm-hmm.
techniques. It's very similar.
Is do you feel like this is kind of something you want to expand like dramatically? Like you guys want to I guess scale this in a major way, or is it just kind of like you're doing what's right in front of you right now? Um,
Well,
hmm.
uh, COVID changed up a lot of things.
Sure.
So our shop is actually part of it's a new music venue here in town called Revel, down I-25 and
Oh,
Montgomery,
next to the Top Golf, right?
not next to Topgolf, right?
Okay.
And that whole area was supposed to be lots of new. It
Hmm.
was supposed to be a new entertainment district with
Sure.
Topgolf, and then a
Hmm.
music venue, and there's bars and restaurants in Revel, and we're supposed to get a lot of that
Hmm.
overflow,
Hmm.
and COVID shut all that down. So we are we've had to pivot our business model, but um, we're limping along, and I
Okay.
think we're going to make it through all this. And after that, I think businesses that make it through this are going to be,
Mm.
they're going to be maybe better for it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do think that, right? It's unfortunate because a lot of businesses will not make it through it,
Mhm.
and that's just what's happening right now. I'm glad that you guys are not as impacted, right? Because you guys weren't so much brick and mortar until right before all of this happened. But I really am excited because I think before this I was even curious as to where I could get some.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, do you guys sell stuff online? What's the deal? Can I order coffee?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. We do online sales. We're uh, starting to increase our e-commerce footprint.
sure, sure.
It's just hundredhandscoffee.com, and we have
Okay,
a couple different blends on there, some merch. You can even get
okay.
signed stuff. We had an artist do some really cool. Actually, we didn't even ask him, but there's an artist who does great fan art. His name's Gorilla the Bear, at least that's his tag. And he did some awesome art for our company. Just
Hmm.
does. And so we sell those,
Signed by
sell
you,
some
you mean, or
posters.
signed by the
Yeah,
okay? I mean,
yeah,
signed by the barista.
but
Nah,
or by the artist. I don't know. That'd be cool to get some by the artist. Actually,
yeah,
that's a good idea. But no,
yeah.
signed by me.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool, man. I mean, that was the thing. I think a lot of people are always, it's Christmas, right? Christmas is right around the corner, and people are wanting to get some of that merch and some of that signed stuff. So, I'll steer some people back in your direction.
Absolutely. And we're doing a
Mhm, okay.
holiday discount, doing like free shipping on orders over $50, and
Oh, nice.
we're just trying to get off the ground, man.
Yeah.
It's been a rough 8 months since the COVID started, so just trying to get some traction.
No, I get you. I get you, and that's awesome, man. What else you got going on? I mean, are you just doing this? Are these your two sources of income? Professional fighting, and then the coffee, or what else you got in
No,
the? What other projects do you have going on?
just professional fighting, not the
Okay.
coffee yet.
Oh, okay.
um,
Okay.
uh, no, but so yeah, I'm doing professional fighting, or doing my thing that I've been doing for forever.
Hmm.
Um, right now, I actually have some instructional tapes, some instructional videos, some instructional material. I said tapes. There's no tapes anymore. I don't know why I
Some
said that.
VHS or
Like,
betas.
yeah, VHS tape. No, I have some instructional material available online, that I did with a company called Dynamic Striking.
Okay.
They work with lots of different, high level coaches and fighters.
Hmm.
So doing a little bit of that. I was traveling a little bit for seminars, but that has been uh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has diminished because of COVID, and teaching here and there, but that's it. Oh, and well, actually, I do. Come to think of it, I forget things. Forgive me. I actually have a collaboration with a clothing company right now called Scene Studios, and
Okay.
they do custom apparel, custom jeans. I have a signature line of jeans with them.
Oh,
It's
you know what? I did see, I
SENE.
saw an ad for that, I think,
Uh-huh,
or something,
uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, man. So I'm just trying to diversify, and I'm almost
Oh, lost you. Awesome, man. So, I mean, so you're just trying to diversify. I mean, are you, I know a lot of people, I hear a lot of people out there. I mean, people, athletes, stuff like that. They try to, you always hear them kind of doing different things. That just seems like the smart business thing to do, right? Because you're not going to be able to fight forever. Or, I mean, are you hoping to?
no, dude. Yeah, no. Athletic careers are short lived, and
Yeah.
so the best thing you can do is have other options.
Hmm.
But honestly, that's a double edged sword. Once you start taking some focus off of competing at a very high level,
Hmm.
that can be detrimental to to that side of your life. So I don't know, man. It's a balance,
Hmm.
and I don't think there's a playbook for any of this. There's plenty of athletes that kind of squander their opportunity and think that they're gonna be able to ride that train forever, and it
Yeah.
it ends real quick. Like all of a sudden, I am, you know, I'm 36 years old. It's 20 years later. I'm like,
Yeah.
where did time go?
It flies, man. Right? It creeps up on people. I mean, you don't want to end up like Mike Tyson, fighting at how old is the dude now? He's in his at least 50s, right?
Yeah, he's in his 50s.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, which is, I mean, I'm sure it was for fun, good fun, but you don't want to have to do that at, at that age, which is, I think is too much. Maybe if it's for fun, right? But it comes
Yep.
to a point where you just kind of want to move on with your life and do something else.
Yeah.
Is what Where do you see yourself, man? I mean, I think that's kind of a big question, right? And we all try to stay in the here and now,
Mhm.
but what are you're living out, you get to do what you love right now. How is that going to, change over time? And do you see the direction you're going in yet?
Um, yeah. I have some seeds planted.
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't. You never know when you start.
Hmm.
The majority of small businesses, you know, don't make it past a certain point. I think
Yeah.
we've endured through a lot of things, and I think we're going to do well and probably be better for it. Like I
Hmm.
said, but I think that
Oh,
if
nice.
if nothing else, if nothing else, I've learned a lot from this, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been a fighter my entire adult life,
Yeah.
and so having other experiences and having to develop in other areas and learn different things has been really good for me. Whether the coffee company, you know, succeeds beyond all imagination, or falls flat.
Hmm.
I'm going to take this experience and move on to something else. And I don't know. I'm not really a planner. I kind of just fly by the seat of my pants. I know that I have a lot to offer,
Yeah.
and I have skills, and I have experience, and I don't
Hmm.
know exactly where those things are going to fit in the future as far as like job marketability.
Sure.
Um, but I'm I'm confident. Like I'm
Hmm.
very optimistic about the future.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and I mean, going back to what I said at the beginning, you're one of the most resilient people I know, and you keep at it, and visibly and very obviously a hard worker, and I have no doubt about you succeeding in whatever you choose to do. So I think, that's, I'm excited to see your journey, um, in the spotlight, out of it, all of it, man. I mean, it's going to be a very exciting thing to watch. And, I think I can speak for so many people here from Albuquerque. my son included, who got to see your last fight. Obviously, it was on TV, but we're proud of you. I think that's very cool. Little kids are still hearing Albuquerque said, on TV, and seeing somebody representing them, right? So I think that's, you keep doing what you're doing, no matter what you do. We got your back, right? Boudica's got your back, man. And with that said, I mean, do you have you said you have another fight, I think, coming up? Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. I'm
Okay.
scheduled to fight in January, and the date I think
Mhm.
is up in the air. I'm supposed to. I think initially it was January 30th. It may get changed to the 20th,
Okay.
but I'm by Matt Brown. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It'll be
Yeah.
the third time that we've been scheduled to fight, and yeah,
Oh
so
no.
I'm in training camp for that. And
Okay.
January 20th or 30th, I believe it'll be out on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi again.
Oh wow. Yeah. How is it out there, man? Speaking of which, I mean, you're kind of in a bubble, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically you're at the W Hotel in Abu Dhabi.
Hmm.
And everybody who's there, even the like hotel staff is in a bubble. They stay at the hotel across the way, and
Hmm.
you can basically be in about maybe like a 2 or 3 square mile area. And everybody's tested almost every single day,
Yeah.
and yeah, man, it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, man. I got to fight. Like I got to go. It was like a vacation for me, and then I got to fight.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's work, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoy what I do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, it is work, right? There's a lot. We only get to see the end, which is you in the ring. But we don't actually get to, we don't experience what you do, and you're prepping till this day. You're prepping right now, right? And you're doing it every single day. So keep at it, man. I won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for doing this again. It's a local podcast, but we got listeners all over the world. We really do. So if you guys are listening, thanks for doing so. Carlos here is one of my favorite people, and genuinely one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Says hi every single time, shakes your hand. I mean, before the pandemic, I don't know if you'll be shaking any hands anytime soon, but just a good,
Elbow.
there you go, man. Just not to the face, please. And we really appreciate it, man. So I'll stop recording here really quickly, and then we'll debrief. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Thanks, bro.